Hello dear listener, please subscribe to our channel. Enjoy watching. It started with a feeling. A small, nagging intuition at the back of my mind, like a half-formed thought that wouldn't leave. For years, Sarah had been the perfect wife. Beautiful, intelligent, kind, at least, that's how it seemed. But lately, there were signs. Subtle shifts in the air. A distracted glance when I spoke, a slight hesitation when I kissed her goodbye. She was starting to slip away, and I could feel it. I thought maybe it was just stress. Work was busy, and we'd been planning a big vacation. But something was off. The first sign came when I found her phone unlocked, carelessly left on the kitchen counter. She had always been protective of her privacy, but she left it open once too often, just enough to make me curious. I scrolled through her messages, and that's when I saw it, an innocuous enough exchange at first, but it made my stomach twist. A text from someone named R. It was short, almost cryptic, asterisk, can't wait to see you again tonight. Asterisk. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up. I didn't act immediately. I didn't want to jump to conclusions. I told myself I was overreacting, that it was probably some old friend from work or a harmless flirtation. But the more I thought about it, the more something didn't sit right. Then came the late nights. The excuses. I'm working late, or I'm meeting with some friends. Her alibis were always so smooth, so rehearsed. Too rehearsed. And when I asked about the text, she brushed it off casually. Oh, just an old colleague from college. You know how it is, some people just can't let go. But I wasn't stupid. I knew. I had always known. The next few days were an exercise in patience. Sarah continued to lie, and I let her. I played the role of the confused husband, pretending I hadn't seen through her facade. It was important for her to believe I was still the same trusting man. But I wasn't. I had spent the last decade building a life with Sarah, and she was throwing it all away for a man I didn't even know. I needed revenge, but it needed to be flawless. It needed to be calculated. And that's when the idea hit me, asterisk the perfect alibi star. I was going to make sure that, from the outside, it looked like everything was her fault. I'd make sure there was no escape. But first, I had to understand who her lover was. His name was Jared. Jared Keller. A self-important, pompous businessman who seemed to think he was invincible. The first time I saw him, he was at one of the charity galas Sarah and I had attended. He struck me as the type who thought he could get away with anything. Charming, manipulative, a smooth talker. I researched him. I dug into his personal life. Jared had a history of getting involved with women, married women, because he was untouchable. I decided that Jared was the one who needed to be taught a lesson. But Sarah? She would suffer too, just in a different way. I would break her. I knew I had to act quickly. Sarah was growing more careless, her lies more transparent. I could see her slipping further into the affair, so I pushed her. I suggested a weekend getaway, just the two of us. The idea was to rekindle our relationship, pretend that nothing was wrong. When she hesitated, I pushed harder. I miss us, I told her. Let's just go away for a few days. We deserve it. Reluctantly, she agreed. But the moment she did, I knew exactly what to do. The plan had to be executed with precision. I wasn't going to let her have the upper hand any longer. I invited Jared to the same resort, under the guise of a business trip. I didn't tell Sarah. I wanted it to be a surprise. As the days passed, I prepared for what was coming. The hotel was a secluded spot, hidden away in the woods. It would be easy to manipulate the situation, to create an environment where they would be caught in the act, but still believe they were in control. We arrived at the resort late in the evening. The air was thick with tension, but I kept up the charade. I kissed Sarah, complimented her on how beautiful she looked, and promised her that this weekend was for us. I could tell she didn't believe it. She could sense that something was off, but I kept my cool. Dinner was quiet. Too quiet. Sarah kept glancing at her phone, the temptation to reach out to Jared almost palpable. I knew he would contact her, he was arrogant. He'd want to check in, just to remind her who was in control. And he did. I watched as her phone buzzed, her face lighting up for just a second. Then, I smiled to myself. I had planted the perfect seed of doubt. This weekend wasn't just for us, it was my opportunity to expose everything. By midnight, I had Sarah where I wanted her. She was drunk enough to lower her guard, but still coherent enough to believe everything was fine. I excused myself from the room, claiming I needed some fresh air. That's when I called Jared. I had arranged for him to meet me at a small, secluded cabin just outside the resort. I told him I had some confidential business I needed to discuss. Of course, he took the bait. When he arrived, I was waiting. Jared, I greeted him with a smile. Glad you could make it. He looked around, confusion settling in. What is this? Why am I here? I wanted to talk to you about Sarah, I said. She's going to be devastated when she finds out who you really are. His face paled. He took a step back. What the hell are you talking about? I just smiled, enjoying his panic. You think she doesn't know, don't you? But I've been watching you. And now, you're going to learn something about me. I knocked him out cold, letting the darkness of the night swallow him whole. When Jared woke up, he was tied to a chair in the cabin. The fake bloodstains I had carefully set up covered the floor. I had been thorough, ensuring that when the authorities found him, they would be convinced that he had committed a brutal crime. Sarah's dead, I said, my voice calm and deliberate. And you're the one who killed her. He struggled, trying to break free, but it was too late. I had already set the trap. In the end, the details were irrelevant. Sarah's life was destroyed. Jared's was too. Sarah woke up hours later, groggy and confused. I had already set everything in motion. I was waiting for her when she emerged, acting concerned and loving. You must have had too much to drink, I said, lying smoothly. You passed out. She didn't remember anything. But when she noticed Jared was gone, a flicker of doubt crossed her face. I was careful not to let her know I was aware of what had transpired. The next few days unfolded as planned. Jared's disappearance became a scandal, with no trace of him anywhere. Police investigations led to a fake confession letter I had planted in his car, implicating him in Sarah's murder. The news broke within a week. Businessman Jared Keller missing, suspected in lover's murder, suicide note was found, which claimed his guilt. His bank accounts had been mysteriously drained. His reputation was obliterated. Sarah was devastated. I held her as she cried, whispered empty reassurances in her ear. She believed the lie. She believed everything I wanted her to. A month later, Jared's car was discovered at the bottom of a ravine, burned beyond recognition. No body was recovered, leaving his fate a mystery. Sarah never suspected a thing. She never would. Because fate didn't destroy her life. I did. If you leave a comment, tell us what you think about the story you heard, it's important to us and will help us find and tell stories that you find interesting. Thank you for watching us.